We want to build the most loving, faith-filled, supportive community for women who are going through grief.
And man, have we got some ideas. A lot of people are just wanting to be able to connect with others in their area, close by. Someone who gets them, they can go for a walk or a coffee with.
If I'm expecting you to be there for me or to pick up the phone and call me daily, that expectation is going to be broken.
He didn't outwardly look like, as a widower, he was grieving his wife.
Like he should.
Yes, like he
quote
unquote should.
Hey, and welcome back to another episode of Good Grief. I'm so happy you're here, and I'm joined by my beautiful wife, Kaylee. How are you, babe?
I'm good. I'm real good.
Because you've had some food?
Yes, because I've had some food and I've moved around.
I've
moved baby.
We went out for coffee this morning with a good friend of ours, Dave Schaefer, episode 15 on the Good Grief podcast. If you haven't listened to Dave's episode.
It's a goodie.
It's a goodie. We've mentioned it a couple of times. He's had multiple losses, including his first wife, his daughter, and his second wife.
Yeah.
So incredible episode if you want to go back and listen to that. But it was great catching up with him.
He's a good egg. We always get so much out of talking with him. He's just so full of wisdom and stories and lessons.
And jokes.
And jokes. Yeah.
So
he liked your joke from the other episode.
Yeah, totally.
The one that just cracked me up.
About Gary.
About Gary, yeah.
So I've got another joke.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Oh.
But today, just so you know, if you haven't read the title of the episode, if you're one of our faithful listeners that just clicks and listens.
Thank you.
Thank you. But we're going to be talking about loneliness and the reality of loneliness in grief today. So that's what we're going to be talking about. And some stories that we've experienced, and then also some things that you could use in your journey as well. But first,
you got another joke for me.
Oh, I do. And
surprise.
We put it to the people, you know, do they want to hear more of these jokes to lighten up their day? And the response was yes.
The people said yes.
All right. So hopefully, I mean, this one's PG as well. So,
okay.
And I feel like I need to preface every time that this was Dave's idea. He and his wife, who ran grief support groups, would get the members coming to share a joke every time. So they'd laugh and they'd cry. And that's the reality of grief.
Because we need laughter as much as we need to cry.
Or as Dave says it, grieving people love to laugh too.
Yeah.
Okay, you ready?
All right, hit me.
After a preacher died and went to heaven, he noticed that a New York cab driver had been awarded a higher place than he. I don't understand, he complained to God. I devoted my entire life to my congregation. Our policy here in heaven is to reward results, God explained. Now, was your congregation well attuned to whenever you gave a sermon? Well, the minister had to admit, some in the congregation fell asleep from time to time. Exactly, God said. And when people rode in this man's taxi, they not only stayed awake, they even prayed. How good's that?
That's good. That's good.
Okay, so joke of the week. There you go. Hopefully you got a laugh out of that.
Maybe the taxi's name was Gary as well.
Maybe it was Gary. So
good. Have you ever been in a taxi where you've prayed?
I haven't caught a taxi in a long time.
Long time. Okay, Uber, taxi.
Ubers. I've prayed to get out of an Uber because of not really pray.
God, let me out.
Not really pray, but we just hoped it would end fast because, you know, bless this girl that was taking us to the airport at 3 a.m. It was pitch black. But, you know, you're so tired at that time in the morning. She had all these fairy lights in the cabin and all of these.
Like our neighbour.
Who?
Our neighbour with the RAV4 and she's got the fairy lights.
She's got fairy lights everywhere.
And the bunting.
Yeah, totally.
And
I wouldn't go for
curtains.
a ride in that.
Yeah.
The fact that it was just pitch black, we're tired, going to the airport, and all of these lights, and then all of these scented car smelly things.
Oh, yeah.
And it was just so full on at that time in the morning. I was get us to the airport quickly.
Yeah.
So
I've had an opposite when when my friend Emma and I were in Bali. It's
You
just
wa-
like,
You wanted to stay in the Uber?
no,
Uber. Oh,
no. Oh,
that would be the opposite. I wanted to get out quickly.
oh, okay, sorry. Well, it was more of a scary experience. Like, dude didn't speak English. It was nighttime. I think we were trying to get home for the night, and he went off the main road and went like to these back streets, and there were like random people, you know, and he started driving slower, and we were like, oh my gosh, bad things are going to happen. We were praying in the back seat.
And
like,
it wasn't an Uber though, hey?
No, it was a
'Cause
taxi.
Yeah, they don't have
Yeah.
Ubers, I don't think.
Yeah. And this was
A long time
14
ago.
years ago. Yeah, that was
Wow.
scary. I was
Anyway.
definitely praying that time.
We didn't plan to share
No,
Uber
we didn't plan
stories.
to share that.
Ubers can be lonely. No.
We did feel lonely in those back streets.
Yeah, totally. Well, man, there's been so much happening in the last week, 2 weeks. Lots of exciting things going on. And for those of you listening, you've been on the journey with us. We mentioned that on our last episode, actually, that behind the scenes, we've been working on a private community off of Facebook and socials.
Yeah, it's very exciting. And we're also like asking you to help us build it.
Totally. Because we just want to know, what do you want inside of this community, inside of this space? Because as we know, grief is different for everybody.
Yeah.
We have
And what we would find helpful, or what we would think you guys might find helpful, might not be. Might not be what you're seeking,
totally.
what you'd find helpful.
So we put it to our members in our Facebook group, put it out to
our email.
our email newsletter list, and the response has honestly been overwhelming.
Yeah.
It's been hard to like keep up because we're doing so many other things in our life as well.
Yeah. Sorry if we haven't got back to you yet,
Yeah.
but we've appreciated every single response.
We've read and recorded every response.
Yeah.
And
And we're tallying the votes, like people who repeat a similar idea.
yeah, and so we want to build, honestly, we want to build the most loving, faith-filled, supportive community for women who are going through grief.
Yeah.
And we can't do it alone. And so we put the word out saying, hey, we need your help. We want to know what would make this the best space and place for you.
And man, have we got some ideas.
Yeah. Some of what's been so far, what's been one that's been a highlight to you that's really stood out?
I think the ones that we've like already had and people are reiterating that they
What's
would
one?
like. One is like a space where they can just honor their loved one without feeling weird about it, because people in their own world are over it or don't understand or whatever. Just a place where they can just go and put a photo and say, this is my mum, this is what I loved about her, and blah, blah, blah.
And there's no
Here's a
fear or
story.
judgment or anything like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll have a private, section and space
Little channel.
just for that.
Yep.
Where you can honor your loved one. I really liked one of our members who shared that, not every day do you want to see somebody else's story. You might be having like in grief, we know there's peaks and there's troughs, there's valleys and mountaintops. And so you might be having a great day and you want to share from that space, or you might be having a low day. You might be really at the bottom of the barrel and you don't have much left, and sort of the last thing you want to see is somebody else's story, and
That triggers or is sad.
the
or
grief that they've gone through.
Yeah.
And so they suggest a space that's just for joyous occasions, just for joyous memories,
Yeah.
and celebrations, so that
And even laughter.
yeah, and so that on those days you can purely go there and be able to block out what you don't want to see.
Yeah.
So that you
Get
can
your
experience
daily
that.
dose.
So I love
Well, maybe we can
that.
call it a daily dose.
Daily dose.
Mm.
Yeah. Well,
I love that. I'm going to be going to that channel every day.
yeah, that's cool.
Maybe you can pop in your daily joke, a weekly joke.
Yeah, we could have a space for jokes. Who knows?
Yeah.
We'll see what the people think.
Yeah.
What else have you loved?
What else have I loved? Book club, book recommendations.
Totally. Been
Yeah.
a lot of support for book recommendations.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that you don't have to trawl through Amazon
Yeah.
to try and find something that's going to be helpful.
Yeah, or order something that isn't helpful. And then you've got all these books that you don't read and you spent money on. But yeah, recommendations from people who have gone, this was helpful, or send this to a friend who's asked how to support you or whatever.
And then that might turn into a book club.
Yeah.
Where we read together and we process together. That'd be cool.
Or whether you might just get together with a few members and that becomes your
Oh.
little book club.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Coffee, cake, and a book.
Yeah.
That's great.
And speaking of that, yeah, a lot of people are just loving or wanting to be able to connect with others in their area, close by. Someone who gets them, they can go for a walk or a coffee with, get together with regularly, and just, yeah, get each other. Cause
Yeah, we got a friend at church, Kayleen, who specifically takes people on hikes and walks to process grief.
Does she?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Not the Kayleen you know.
Oh, okay.
Different Kayleen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was like, I did not know that.
Yeah, one that knows my mum.
Oh, okay.
And so she'll hike all through the hinterland, and it's such a cool way to connect with others, but also connect with nature, and then also just be, without the craziness of life, or knowing that, someone might set you off, or, people that understand. And so, yeah, on that topic of connecting with others, what you'll have access to, if you want to join us on this journey, is you'll be able to find other women who are nearby.
Yeah.
If you choose to allow that. And so you can simply go onto the app and go, who's nearby? And you might find Sally, or you might find Kayleen. And then with a simple message, hey, do you want to catch up for a coffee or a call or a hike? You can make friends who know exactly what it's like going through grief.
Yeah.
So that's going to be pretty cool.
So exciting. And spaces for like topical grief.
Totally.
People who have lost a sibling, a mum, a spouse, a child,
a pet.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be really, really supportive as well.
People who not only get grief, but they get your type of grief. So that'll be super cool.
And I still remember it like it was yesterday. 11 years ago when Dad died, I just wanted to find another guy my age who'd lost a dad.
Yeah.
Just to ask him all the things. So that'll be cool. Also, we had suggestions for good grief quotes and meditations.
Yeah, someone had a great idea about quotes coming up, like
popping up on your phone.
Yeah, so that you don't have to necessarily go into the app, but they're kind of like verse of the day from the Bible app, that kind of thing just pops up, and little inspiration.
Yeah, so many ideas.
Yeah.
Also, music has been a big suggestion.
Yeah, we'll have different kind of playlists, worship, soothing kinds, and probably uplifting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then on the back of sort of worship, a place for scripture as well, that you can find Bible verses and passages that speak to grief and are really uplifting and supportive.
For sure.
That's going to be a really cool space as well. And then I guess on top of that, we're so excited to partner with specialists in their field that are all over the world. So we plan to be able to offer support, whether that is from different therapists, counselors, psychologists, etc.
Yeah. Nutritionists.
All the way
sleep.
to looking after your body with nutrition,
which is so important.
Sleep specialists, fitness, things that you can do to help your body.
Breath work, meditation, that sort of stuff.
So we're really looking forward to partnering with a whole bunch of people.
Yep.
And if you're listening to this right now and you're
like, that sounds like me.
Yeah, you're like, oh,
I need that.
Where can I access it? Well, it's actually launching, or we're letting in our first founding members, should I say. We're opening the doors to our first founding members tomorrow. Being the 20th of March.
Yeah.
So
exciting.
So we're nervous, we're excited.
We're ex-nervous, as you've been saying.
Yeah, a combination of nervous and excited.
Yeah.
But just based on the ideas from our beautiful community, I can't wait to get in there and to build it with you. And that's why we've been asking, what would you like to see inside of this community. And so if you're on our email list or inside our Facebook group, you're going to have
First access.
early bird access
Yeah.
to become a founding member. And so keep an eye out. If you're listening to this and it's the 18th or 19th of March when this episode drops,
Wherever you are in the world.
the next day
Yeah.
you will find...
Just go to bed once.
Yeah.
And then
yeah, go to bed.
does that work?
Like Christmas, yeah. Wake up and then... and look, I don't know.
It's our Easter gift.
If you're on our email list and in our group, you'll find how to access that. And we're going to open the doors for a week just so that those who want to become founding members can join us. And then over the next couple months, we're going to work together to put those ideas into action and to really create a beautiful space and community before we officially launch this publicly. So we're going to give you early bird access because you're part of our Good Grief family.
And if you're not on our list yet,
Oh yeah, what should they do?
there should be a link below that you
Totally.
can go sign up to.
Yeah, it's not too late.
Not too late.
We'd love
And you
to...
get all sorts of goodies in there.
We'd love to give you early bird access as a founding member.
Yep. And if you think that this could help someone else that you know, please share.
Totally.
Send them the link.
Yeah, because we just know that on the topic of today, like being or going through grief alone is one of the most, sad things. It doesn't help us process our grief doing it alone. It doesn't help us to progress in our own world and to voice and to air those things. And so, yeah, a big part of this community is going to be the ability to find other women near you who know what it's like, that you can actually make friends with and do the journey together.
Because we know that as much as you might have people in your world supporting you, they just might not have been through grief. And so they actually just don't get it. They don't get you. So as much as you have supportive people, you still feel lonely. Hey.
Yeah, we experienced that.
Yeah.
Yeah. To
It
lay
could be within your own friends,
to
or
lay
your own family.
Yeah, to lay the groundwork, like we both had great support networks around us. Like, and we know that's not everybody's situation.
Yeah.
We had awesome family, we had awesome friends.
Yep. Church community.
But we were talking about it before we hit record. It's like even our close friend circle hadn't lost someone that close to them.
Yeah.
So even though they were supportive, it still felt lonely because going through grief that they don't know, they don't understand.
Yeah.
Even though they're there for you, they might call you or support you, which is wonderful. They just don't understand.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I think like you said, your friends, my friends, our closest friends just hadn't been through that. So just knowing they hadn't, you just knew that they didn't get what you were actually feeling inside.
It's impossible.
Yeah. And no matter what you say, do, tell them.
And I didn't get it before I lost Dad either.
Yeah.
I'd lost friends, aunties, all sorts of things, but no one that close.
Yeah.
Where you're just weeping daily, like unable to get out of bed at times, like that depth of grief.
Yeah. So like, I think that no matter what you say, they still won't get it. They still won't get it to the point of understanding what you're going through. And so I didn't expect them to. I just have to put that out there that maybe some of you do. Maybe you think like, oh, if I just tell them this or explain that I've been through this or I'm feeling this, it doesn't mean they're going to get it.
A different way of putting that, and maybe to think about things outside of grief, is that everything in life, like that we think about, or relationships that we have, careers, family, etc., we've got expectations around. Now, sometimes those expectations are too lofty. Sometimes they're not lofty enough. And depending on what expectation we hold for a certain, let's use grief as an example, for a certain person, if I'm expecting you to be there for me, or to pick up the phone and call me daily, or to remember Dad's anniversary of when he passed, and I haven't communicated that to you, that expectation is going to be broken.
Yeah.
And it's going to result in me breaking and shattering.
And you being hurt.
Totally.
Yeah.
And so I just,
It's unrealistic, without
Unrealistic.
the
That's
communication
right.
there. Yeah.
and so I think it's really healthy to understand that our expectations really set the framework for like whether we consider something a success or a failure, and it's no different in grief. And so, like you said, you didn't expect your friends to understand or to be there. I'd say I would have expected at different times people to be there. But again, I didn't communicate that. You know, now 11 years on, we're talking about grief quite a lot and hearing from thousands and thousands of people's stories. You know, we're able to work out what are some great ways to deal with things. And communicating those expectations is one. So,
Yeah.
so what might be some ways that you might communicate ahead of anniversaries or big events like Easter's coming up or Christmas, or maybe it's a wedding anniversary or a birthday? What would be some things that you would communicate?
Yeah, so I'd like to reference our grief support guide. We've mentioned a bunch of these things in there that you can,
Yeah, and if you don't have that, we'll pop that in the links below. You can grab our support guide.
it helps you as the griever and also people who are supporting you as well. So, yeah, ahead of anniversaries,
Milestones,
milestones.
big events.
Yep. What do you call Christmas?
Well, you could say hallmark, calendar moments.
Yes. Yeah, you could let people know, like let your close circle know, hey, this event's coming up, this anniversary's coming up, this thing. I might be having a hard day. It might be really tough for me. So if you could check in, if you have time for a coffee, time to just hang out, that would be really helpful. And just let them know in advance, I need your support.
That's right. And the cool part is you can do that. It doesn't have to be the day before. It could be a week before. It could be a month before. Like before you get into that position of crippling anxiety,
Yeah.
where you just
can't communicate, you can't think.
I can't pick up the phone to send a text. Like that's how debilitating it can be at times. It's like we can do it well in advance. So you might send someone a message now for Christmas.
Hey,
Yeah.
what you doing Christmas
Hey,
this year?
in 9 months' time, can you check in on me? No, don't mean to joke, but like
But also, it's while you're having a good day, you're helping yourself where you might not be having a good day. So you're setting yourself up for a win by planning ahead
that's so smart.
and planning your support. Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, note when those moments are good and think, what can I do today that's going to support me in the future? How will I be the best version of myself if I do something now?
And maybe you might be fine on that day and you just get to have a great hangout. But like, just in case, you want to be prepared so that you're not having a lonely ass moment and you can't deal. You can't
Totally.
communicate.
Like you've mentioned to me, why don't you pick up the phone and call some of my mates or our pastor and so forth? And I've said I can't, in those moments.
Yeah.
So I get it.
Yeah.
I even felt lonely within my family where we were all grieving Dad, and my brother and I, who were still at home at the time, just down the hallway from each other, even though we've been close brothers and still are, during that period, he wasn't as open with me as I would have liked, where we could have journeyed, hand in hand, like shoulder to shoulder, like supporting each other. And that was tough, because I love the intimacy and closeness that he and I have. But during that time, I felt lonely.
Because your mum was grieving differently, he was grieving differently.
And I felt like I'm taking care of Mum.
Yeah.
He needed to grieve in his own way, but it sort of left me on the outskirt. Like, how am I going to get through this? And so I can understand, even within your own family unit, you all might be devastated about the same person, and yet everybody grieves differently, and you might feel really alone in that.
Yeah, no, it was similar with me, similar but different. Obviously, my mum was sick for a number of years, and Dad had been grieving her for a number of years, and I hadn't thought about it like that, and so when she actually did pass, he he'd done all his anticipatory grief,
7 years, hey?
Yeah. And so, yeah, he didn't outwardly look like, as a widower, he was grieving his wife.
Like he should.
Yes, like he
quote
unquote should.
That's
yeah,
right.
Yeah. So,
which I just guess it again reiterates the fact that everybody is entitled to grieve differently, right?
Yeah.
But we have these expectations.
Yes.
You should be grieving this way because it was your wife.
Yes.
Of
How
30
dare you
years.
not be shedding a tear right now?
Totally.
Yeah. You should look sadder than that.
And it doesn't mean he's cold-hearted because he's got a massive heart. And we've asked him about, that's the really special thing that we've been able to do is go, how did you process that? And he's told us very openly that, I remember him saying, Kaylee, I processed all of my grief while Mum was alive.
Yeah, he was angry.
Totally.
He was upset.
Yeah.
Dad's not a huge crier, but yeah. Yeah, he's definitely told us that, he did all that before she passed.
So you were going to say...
Oh, yeah, that, yeah, because I was grieving Mum different to him. That, I'm sure if it was the other way round, Mum would have been grieving probably similar to me just because she's similar in emotions and whatever. Possibly. I mean, who knows? Depending on how Dad would have died or whatever. But it just felt more lonely. And because I had 3 brothers and they also grieve differently to women and whatever. So in my household, it was...
There's all these dynamics,
a little bit lonely.
layers and layers of dynamics, right? It just brings me back to, I guess, that idea of expectations.
Yeah. I think we have to expect that there is an element of loneliness to grief.
Totally.
No matter which way you look at it, no matter how you deal with it.
Yeah. Because the only person that can go through that grief for you is you.
Yeah.
Unlike many other things in life, we can get assistance on so many things, but when it comes to grief, it's so personal and so intimate that we have to go through. And a reminder that grief is the natural process that we must go through after losing somebody, and that the depth of our grief is parallel
to the depth
to the depth of our love.
Yeah.
And so, it's not much of a consolation, but if you're at the bottom of the barrel grieving, it's because you loved so much. It's because you love them so much. And some people that provides relief to think about that. To others it doesn't. It's like, well, that doesn't help me. And both of those answers are okay. I guess another thing we were chatting through prior to this was when anniversaries come up and so forth. Who's there to support you? A year on, a lot of people, might be around and they might remember the time.
They might get a Facebook notification memory.
Yep, totally. Yeah, they might have taken a photo, and it pops up and reminds them. 2 years on, there might be some people still, but as time goes on, both of our experiences have been that slowly
people drop off.
Yeah. And I don't know if drop off is the right term, right? I guess it comes back to our expectation of what we think people should be like to support us. And so do we expect people to have it written in their calendar, on their fridge? Oh yeah, my friend's mum passed, when they've got their own life.
Yeah.
And at a certain time, they're going to go through their own grief.
And we don't know what they're going through that day. They might have intended to message, but something else happened and it slipped their mind.
I think it was Robin Williams who said, everybody is dealing with something, so be kind to everybody.
Yeah.
I think he said, Robin Williams said, everybody's dealing with something you have no idea about, so be kind to everybody.
Yeah, that's what he said.
And so that helps me reframe, oh yeah, that's right. I don't expect them to every year for the next however long we'll be alive to remember. But
It's a bonus. It's nice if they do.
it's beautiful if they do.
Yeah.
And then we know that, you know, you do post something on social and then people go, oh, you know, thinking of you today. And that's beautiful as well. But I love my mum and her generation and the generation above her.
And her besties.
So mum's got a faithful few friends.
She does.
She says that herself, and you can count them on one hand. They've been around the block, and probably they knew me when I was a baby, right? Like, and when I was born. So 30, 40 years they've been around. And after Dad died, they stopped everything. They flew in, they cooked for us, they cleaned, they took care of their business. And then every year since, there is a message or a phone call on the anniversary of Dad's passing, or on their wedding anniversary, even, like these things. And I think that's beautiful about that generation, is that they didn't grow up with social media and reminders on Facebook and notifications. They grew up with a Refidex and
And a dial telephone
yeah, what
with a
is
cord.
Refidex is the maps, right?
Yeah.
What's the thing? We had these things that you would write people's names and addresses in, and it had like A to Z, and you'd slide it and pop it open, and it had all of their details. I can't remember it's like a pocket.
Is that just not an address book?
Yeah, maybe it's just a fancy address book.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone else had those, but I used to like play with it,
Yeah,
like slide the thing,
remember
pop it
that.
open.
It pops open at the letter or
At the
whatever.
letter.
Yeah.
So good, right? That was the generation.
And then when it fills up, they got to get a new one and rewrite everyone's names and numbers.
But here's what I'd say: that generation didn't fill them up as fast as what we do now.
No.
Because we've just
got acquaintances
we've
of
got
many.
so much access to people
Yeah.
anywhere at any time all across the world.
And how many you would actually call.
A close
Is-
friend, yeah.
Or, I mean, actually get
call.
on a call.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, back then you memorized phone numbers.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, you knew the people you
addresses.
called. You knew their numbers. Yeah.
Anyway, nostalgia. I wouldn't mind living in that generation.
Oh, no.
We're talking about, we're worried for our kids and the world that they're going to grow up in, and our grandkids.
I think it made my memory really good by having to memorize phone numbers. And
How long did it take me to learn yours?
I don't know if you still know it.
I do. I'm not going to say it on the podcast.
Okay. What's the ending?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
No. And I can't just give you the last three. I've got to say the whole thing to get
Oh, is that how you do
it.
it?
Anyway,
Yeah, yours is super easy.
how did we get here? Grief and loneliness.
Yep. Expectations.
So, I mean, I hope that some of these, even just some of these musings and thoughts and stories of our own journey have been really helpful and comforting, and know that, like, what you're feeling in loneliness, it's normal, it's okay.
And it's also good to realize whether we have these unrealistic expectations, because we're only setting ourselves up for disappointment. So maybe it's a aha moment for you, like, that's why I've been feeling disappointed, because I've had these expectations, not communicated them, and been let down. So, yeah, I know that, we've all had those.
Totally.
Yeah.
But I'm excited, to connect women all across the world through this beautiful community that we're about to open the doors to tomorrow. And so, yeah, if that's you and you're feeling like, man, I'd love to find other ladies across the world. Like, I don't know how many countries at the moment are part of our Good Grief family, but it's a lot.
And it's growing.
Yeah, and so no doubt there's going to be people near you who know and understand, and sometimes you won't even have to say a word.
Yeah.
You're like, we just get it.
Yeah, we love going through our welcome posts, seeing where you're from, and seeing you connect, like, already. Yep, I love seeing people.
Yeah, it's like Colorado, London, Sydney, New York.
Yeah. And it's like, hey,
Tokyo.
reach out to me if you need it. Yeah.
So
at any
cool.
time. Like,
Yeah.
drop into my DMs.
But it's going to be even cooler when you can just see where people are close by.
Yes.
So
Such a cool feature. Anyway.
if that gets you as excited as it does us, tomorrow, March 20th, we're opening the doors just to our first founding members, and you're more than welcome to become one with us and to share your ideas, have them heard, and we will work to put them in place to make sure that the Good Grief Club, as we're calling it, is going to be the most special place.
Yeah. It's a work in progress.
Mm-hmm.
And we need you to do it.
So
So come join us.
keep an eye out on your emails tomorrow, this week, because Good Grief Club is going to be opening
It's all happening.
for 7 days.
Yep.
Before we close the doors and work with you to build
5
this
days.
space. Yeah, 5 days.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Don't miss out.
Cool.
Get in.
Lots of love from both of us. Bye for now.
See you guys.